Hello and welcome to Knowledge by Nature. In today's video, I'm continuing my series of how I'm planning for the year. And so in my last video, which was the first video, I'll put it right here and you can always find those links down in the description below. But it's how I, am setting up for the year. Ideas of how I even get started would be the first video. Well, this video is how I am looking at planning our history for the year. So I have my School Nest notes book here, and then I have our main spine, or I guess curriculum, that we are going to be using. This was gifted to us and we started using it last year and we're continuing it on this year. But something that I wanted to do this year a little bit more specifically is actually like detail it out, figure out what I want to do, when I want to do it, and exactly how long I want to do it. Because I did find that we just kind of continued to stay in the American Revolution for a really, really long time. And while you can definitely deep dive and do that, I do want to continue to make our way through history. And so that is why I am doing what I am doing this year. So before we get started, if this is your first time here, I am a homeschool mom to a soon-to-be 5th grader. We love all things books, homeschool, and sharing our journey with you. And if that is something that you are interested in, I would love if you consider hitting that subscribe button and give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. If you are returning, welcome back. I always appreciate having you return. Now, let's get into this. This is by Common Sense Press. I really, really like this. It really just gives you a lot of resources. It's not specifically a curriculum. I don't want to call it like that. This is a book of resources and ideas, and you pull things from this book to use. Now, there is a little bit as far as like it kind of gives you a headline of what that timeline is going to be like. So if we look at learning about the Westward expansion, you can see we have this little prologue and then all of the resources jump in. It kind of tells you how to use it. I have a full flip through on this. Again, I'll put it down in the description below in case you're interested. But this is just amazing. It's really very inexpensive and it has so many resources for you. You don't have to go out and do a lot of researching. It's already in here. It's broken up by the timelines. It's fantastic. So we are going to continue using this because that's what we used last year. And as I said, we spent a lot of time in the Revolutionary War period. So last year, I'll do just a quick background here. We ended up going a little bit pre-colonial here. So we went back to like the Vikings and all of that kind of stuff. Then we ended up moving into the colonial period, and then we just landed at the Revolutionary War period, and we stayed there for a really, really long time. Now for this year, I have roughly broken up our whole calendar into different terms. I know some people do 12-week terms, some people do 6 weeks, 1 week off. Our rotation is going to be slightly different, but for the most part, our terms are about 10 weeks, which are giving me 3 big terms and 1 small one at the end. So how I am planning to do that is I'm going to plan 1 term at a time. And so that is what I have done. I've used my School Nest book here and I have broken out my history breakdown. So I'm looking at my term 1, part 1. So I'm looking at an estimation of about 5 weeks that I'm going to be spending with the Westward expansion. Now that is the part that is immediately following the American Revolution. So I come into that section, I go ahead and I read my prologue here just to get an idea of exactly what I'm going to be looking at. And then I kind of look through some of the things that they're calling for. So for this specific time, it's saying that maybe I need to find daily life in a covered wagon, going west, and the westward expansion. So what I ended up finding was traveled west in a covered wagon. And I also have my history pockets moving west. Now, I have not went through this completely to decide exactly what I'm going to do. I got these used from eBay and I can see that there's actually a little bit of writing in that one. Hopefully there's not too much. It doesn't look like it. But we have really, really enjoyed our history pockets. Again, I think I have a video on this. I'll put it down in the description. But we really enjoyed using our history pockets. So these 2 resources right here will be our learning spines for this time period. These are the two things that we are going to mainly focus on reading through and learning about, as well as adding in extra resources as far as reading. So what I have done is, one, I went ahead and I highlighted the timeline hot topics, like the main things that I want to make sure that I hit, and those are all listed within this curriculum or this book as well. So if you go to the very end, you can see the timeline here for that time period, and I have wrote those down. The next thing that I want to do is I want to make sure that I'm hitting a couple of biographies this year. Now, whether that is things that I read to her or independent reads, these are people that I want to hit during this time period. And you can see I have Davy Crockett, Wyatt Earp, Buffalo Bill, and Daniel Boone. Now, I see that this is about, maybe I can hit 4 biographies a week is what I'm kind of thinking of. And so it's not going to be that they're going to be giant books, but maybe we'll get picture books, or we'll just do a little independent study on each one of these. And that gives me about 1 extra week to kind of play with those biographies as well if I need to draw them out a little bit more than a week. Now, as I said, this is full of resources, lots and lots of stories that you can choose from. So there are lots of short stories, short books, picture books that you can choose from, and there are a ton of chapter books that you can choose from as well. This is where I found a huge hiccup last year, is because I wanted to read them all. So what I have done is I went through and I have found what I feel like I can honestly get done in 5 weeks. And so I am only choosing 2 read alouds. And even then, that's pushing it, I feel like, because we have other read alouds going as well. So it could be that I only do 1 of these, but I'm only giving myself just a few options here. So for this time period, I have the Cabin Faced West. You can see this one is not a super big read aloud, which is why I think we can get this done, as well as Old Yeller. This, I went ahead and noted that there is a movie to go along with it, and then I'm going to my independent reads. For her, I'm going to have her read Sarah Plain and Tall, and then there is a movie to go along with that. I have that book somewhere, but I can't seem to find it at the moment, but it is very small. It is similar to a Who Was book. So it is not very big at all. Therefore, she won't have any problem reading that within those 5 weeks, along with her other reading. And then I also have a graphic novel of Sacagawea, which I think will go really great, of course, with this time period, because we're following Lewis and Clark during this Westward expansion. And so this is fun because it is a history graphic novel. This will go really quickly. I wouldn't doubt that this is a 1-day read, but those are some things that she will be reading to go with our history. Next, I went ahead and added any activities that either they mentioned in here or I thought of. So a few things is maybe we could go see a Lewis and Clark museum, go ride canoes. That's something I think we could possibly do. Dry apples and make a wagon. Plus I have all of my history pockets, which will have a lot of fun activities that we can do for this time period. So that is my first 5 weeks of our first initial term. Next, I want to go ahead and set up for the second one so that I don't have to think about that. And we are moving over into the Civil War period. Again, I start the same process of I read the prologue, I look at any of the recommended spines that I need to get, and you can see if you traveled on the Underground Railroad, if you lived when there was slavery in America, just a few words, Mr. Lincoln, and the American Civil War. Now, they don't expect you to get every single one of these books, but try to get a few books to work as your spine. And for that, I have the If You Lived When There Was Slavery in America, as well as many other readers. So let's look here. I've broken out for part 2. Again, I've got this as an estimated 5 weeks that we'll be spending in this. And I have my big history topic timelines here. So I don't know if I'm really going to be able to get this in 5 weeks. I'm thinking this maybe I will push more to get done in 4 weeks and then have an additional week for that. But that's okay if we take the full 5 weeks, and I maybe need to add a little bit more to this one. So for my biographies for term 1, part 2, I have Frederick Douglass, John Wilkes Booth, Harriet Tubman, Abraham Lincoln, and Ulysses S. Grant. and I have some books to go with those, and the ones that I don't have, I will continue to look for. Up next, my read alouds here. So I'm a little not sure what I want to read. So I have 3 options right here. I have Uncle Tom's Cabin, Across 5 Aprils, and Shades of Gray. The next one I have is What Was the Underground Railroad. Now with those, the Underground Railroad is a what was book, so it will go really, really quickly. I actually just randomly picked this up at a rummage sale not too long ago. I was like, oh, this would be really good to read during that time period. It actually happened to be one that was recommended in this, and since then I have heard this is a great book. So this will be one of our read alouds. As you can see, it is a little bit of a heavier book. So I don't know, for a 5-week time period, I don't think all 3 is going to be able to work, but I do think I can probably fit in one more just because I think this will be a very quick read that we can do together. Now, as far as independent reads for her during this time period, I'm going to have her do a study on the Who Was Harriet Tubman, and I have the Harriet Tubman graphic novel as well. So I think I will probably have her do both of these. If not, we will do this one kind of together. She will do this one, and then her main independent read for this time period will be Little Women. This one I think is probably going to continue further than the 5 weeks. I don't think this one's going to get done in term 1, but that's okay. We will carry that forward, but she can read this one. I think she will enjoy it. It's during this time period, and she can also watch the movie when she's done. So that is my plan as far as that goes. Additionally, I went ahead and added in that there's another movie during this time period, which I found all in here, and that is Friendly Persuasion. Now there's more than that listed, but these are just the ones that I think that we might be most interested in, and I already have that Little Women has a movie to go with it. For this, our activities are, we're going to be working on memorizing the Gettysburg Address. There's 2 songs, and then we're going to be doing a lot of mapping activities. Now, I don't know for sure if there is a history pocket for the Civil War. Let's look. It's not specifically here, but if I get to looking for something, I know that the Little School of Smiths on Instagram has different history activities, and I may look into her stuff if I get to that point of needing something else, more activities that I can't just easily find on the internet. So I kind of have a big smorgasbord mess right here, but that is my plan for term 1, is to cover these 2 time periods here. And of course, I do still have many books, lots of picture books that I would like to pull from the library, because picture books, I feel like, really do a great job of kind of seeing what is happening there, meeting lots of new people through those options, which I can get out of here. We will, of course, use YouTube and other resources to kind of bring this more to life. And like I said, lots of hands-on projects that we can do as well. But if you have any questions or comments, please put them down below. I'm planning to kind of continue this a little bit on how I'm brainstorming and putting everything together. But this is for history. Give me a thumbs up, consider hitting that subscribe button, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.